This is plugged in, right? Yeah. The wrong part of the mic was unplugged. Well, the wrong part. It was plugged into the camera, but it wasn't plugged into the mic. It's backwards. Um, so, what happened? Um, so, I got an email back from from the Jeffrey Deitch Gallery, and they said no, not at this time. But I'm not in a bad mood about it because they wrote back. That's a very prestigious gallery, um, and for them to look at my work, understand my work, they even like my work, but it doesn't fit into their, I guess, program cycle they got going on, and which is fine. And my point being, with all that, is that I enjoy a response. Even no is better than silence. And that is really where, um, that's where my anger really comes in. And probably said it before, but that is a big deal. It's a big deal in society now for me. And I'm starting, and that's where I feel like I need to, and I often um, hold people accountable. And if you want to know, if you want to know what sets me off, that's what sets me off. That I ask something, whether it's, I ask for something from a woman or a text or an email. I know it's not going into oblivion. We all know that it's going somewhere, and somebody read it and they chose to ignore it. And I can't bear it anymore. I cannot stand it. And it's all within reason. Like it's one of those things where when I say all this stuff, like I met someone from that gallery. I had a brief conversation. I showed up to the gallery before I'd been to the shows. I established at least some sort of like a rapport, and not a real rapport, but at least enough that there was like a face to the name, and I contacted someone specific and blah blah blah. And I know it's like this, like I'm thinking like, well, how am I like, how is this like, where are the boundaries of this? And like clearly like, just if I happen to come across like Leonardo DiCaprio's phone number or email by some miracle, I wouldn't, email or text him and then get mad if he didn't write back because the guy doesn't know me. He's like obviously quite famous. I'm like who I am. Yeah, it's not like or like say, somehow if I found like Uma Thurman's information and be like, hey, wrote her about like, hey, I've seen you in movies. You want to go get a drink? Like I'm not a complete, idiot. Where like she would respond and or I would get mad if she did not. What the hell? So this is all very much grounded in reality. I it's not blind. Uh, to like I'm not. It's not these blind communications to all these people that are like above here or whatever. That these are people that I'm meeting on a lot of the personal level, street level, in real life sort of level. And when those people don't respond, that's when I get upset. So it's within these limits and boundaries of things. And it's the same way like how I would treat the homeless, or the people that impoverished if they need $1 or something. I tell them mostly, oh, each one that's sorry, no, I don't, thanks, have a good, And honestly, 9 out of 10, they're very polite, and they're happy that I acknowledge them, happy that someone looked them in the eye, and whether I told them the truth or not, whether or not I did have any change, at least I kind of like made eye contact, made them feel like a human being, that they appreciated the rejection more than the silence, more than being ignored. Nobody likes being ignored. Now, can you say stop and talk to every homeless person in the city? I know it's a little bit, you know, it's back and forth. I know it's a little bit overwhelming. Like you can't say, I guess, hi to everybody. You can't, but it's within like I said, within this kind of reason. and that then I could feel like I could move on. And then you don't feel like you get stalky, and you don't feel like you have to feel, you're pressing on people, because persistence is also something frowned upon. I was taught to be persistent my whole life, up till modern times. I was taught to be tenacious until somehow present day got in the way. Like all these traits and qualities that were looked upon and admired, and you were told to do these things, somehow became very out of fashion. Um, I'm sure I mentioned this about my father met my mother, and I'm not going to get into the big story, but my mother did not want to go out with my father. My father was persistent because he saw her every day, and eventually, I guess, not so much convinced her, but I guess I don't know the right word, because it seems like you try to use these words, and it's like, my father was persistent, and it's just like, oh, so like he harassed your mother. Like, I'm like, my father was never a person. I've never seen my father harass even a squirrel, for Christ's sakes. My father was the last person to harass anything. He was just kind of like, easygoing, and kind of like respected the fact that she said no, but at the same time, kind of like, well, maybe I'll ask you tomorrow, kind of thing. And it's so crazy to be taught so much information, so many lessons in life, and then you're told like, nope, you cannot apply those things anymore because they're looked upon. And like, but I'm flipping it back. I'm flipping the switch back to, no, I'm going to make it into a thing. I'm not going to harass them. I'm not going to become a stalker, but I'm definitely not going to just, until they tell me no in this kind of very flat, kind of like, please leave me alone kind of situation, then I feel like it's all open ended. And then I can work with that. I can work with the no. I can work with, it's not this like, oh, I can't, don't tell me no, or I can't take no for an answer. No gives me at least some sort of kind of idea of where things stand. Or because it kind of, there is some wiggle room or some door that's left open with no, like what I got today, as in terms of an email. I mean, it could be just kind of like patting me, or just like putting some, just being nice about it, sure, letting me down easy, which is fine too. It's perfectly okay to let down someone easy, even if you don't have the intention of ever doing anything with them again. Just kind of like, I take that time to kind of just, nudge, and that's it. Like, let's push it down the table. Let's let this, like a salt shaker, just push it down in the end. Maybe somebody else can use the salt. I don't know. I'm bad with analogies here. But that's kind of like the change I'm trying to make, and I'm trying to keep people, hold people to task to an answer. Yes or no. Then I can work with that. I feel free. I don't feel like a chump. No does not make me feel like a chump. Rejection does not make me feel like a chump. Being invisible makes me feel like a chump. Being, not on the radar. Being, like, can't believe this guy talked to me. Oh my God. As if they came from like Planet Princess, and just like, oh, ew, huh? Oh, as if there's this just nothing but disdain. Not even giving anyone like an opportunity or shot, or just, that dismissiveness. But, and even that is what somewhat okay. But if you just blatantly just be like, nah, like, so disgusted, or so turned off, that it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe, just, it's not a crime to be nice. It doesn't take a lot of effort, not at all. It doesn't take much to de-escalate a situation. And there's something about being human, that is still important. It is the fabric of society. We are people. People have feelings. I don't need to be mollycoddled. I don't need a hug or anything. But if an answer is a direction, and then that's it, then we can all move on with our lives. I'll go to the next gallery, go to the next place. I'll talk to the next woman. I'll talk to the next. That's it. That's all. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. But here we are. So, all right.